this is Dr. Sue from Hella Mental Health. It's September, which is Suicide Awareness Prevention Month. This is a really important time to learn more and actually talk in our communities about how do we all play a role in reducing suicide risk and in helping people learn how do we cope with extremely difficult and painful emotional circumstances, and how do we get past when we have suicidal thoughts, which are way more common than I think a lot of us talk about. Now, one of the things that you'll see a lot for this month is people will promote hotlines and encourage people to talk, reach out, fight stigma, get help. The national 1-800-273-TALK, TALK hotline is a great resource. But I also want to make sure that I put out there that suicide prevention is not just about telling people to go get help, right? I think there's a real big value in understanding that any kind of systemic care and support that we can provide people is also suicide prevention. So things like making sure people in our communities have access to food and shelter as much as possible, that they live in environments that don't aggravate stress. And so all work that does reduce social barriers and life stress and economic stress, that's also suicide prevention. Also, we have to talk about coping. Reputable sources like the National Institute of Mental Health, Center for Disease Control indicate that in an average year, and this past few year has been way worse than average, but in an average year, at least 5% of adults do have serious thoughts about suicide, and as much as 19% of high school students, and more than 10% of all young adults. Suicide is also a really high risk for our elders who are dealing with a lot of stressors, like with their health, their economics, or loneliness. And for our queer community members, they have really high levels of suicidal ideation and risk as well because of the societal oppressions and the negative experiences that they have to endure. So many of us have experienced suicidal thoughts. And so in addition to getting help, trying to support systems that care for people and reduce stress, let's also talk about coping. What do people do when they go to therapy or read a self-help book? That's really key. How do we actually increase our coping to get past emotional pain so that we don't have to think that our only way to escape is to harm ourselves or cease to exist? And how do we actually increase situations where we might feel meaning or joy in our lives? So there's different types of therapy, but you may have heard that cognitive behavioral therapeutic methods are really popular and well known to help people. They help teach you skills about how to ground yourself. We've talked about that physically, and also changing thought habits and patterns that can really make us feel way worse. Black and white thinking, catastrophizing, discounting the negative. So as we go through, we're just kicking off the beginning of Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. I do ask you to take part in one of the community events that NAMI or your local county may be having. Know that the hotlines and the support and the therapists are there for you, but that also community care and healing and practical supports also help people heal and save lives. And learn more about what coping skills actually are. A really great resource. Again, I do not get any kind of promotional thing for the books that I recommend. They're just books that I'm really enjoying. But Dr. Catherine Gordon has a new book that came out this year, the Suicidal Thoughts Workbook, which provides really good CBT tools, that you can use this when you're in therapy or if you're not able to access therapy. They're worksheets that really walk you through how do I make a crisis and safety plan for those times when I'm really just in a horrible negative mind state and feeling overwhelmed. How do I actually increase my distress tolerance, my coping skills, improve my social connections, right? Because community is healing and suicide prevention. And how do I recenter myself on finding the meaning that helps me like persist in life. We don't talk about that enough, how the grind, the pandemic, pressures economically, pressures socially really do contribute to how come people become really overwhelmed and to the point that they feel trapped and have suicidal thoughts. I hope you will share this video, learn more for yourself, as well as to help anyone that you may care about that may be struggling through a difficult time, which is a lot of us right now, and know that we can all play a role in suicide prevention. The National Alliance on Mental Illness, this year's slogan for Suicide Awareness Prevention Month is Together for Mental Health, and the solutions are definitely together. They're not just an individual person's burden to work on in therapy. All of us can play a role, whether that's in a spiritual community, in a family, in a school or a workplace, to be more supportive and understanding and connect people to good, reputable resources for preventing suicide. Take good care of yourselves, of each other. And if you like this content or have specific questions about mental health, please like and subscribe or drop a note about what kind of topics you think are important to talk about.